Beautiful soul, welcome to our end of days, and that's DAZE. As usual, just one continuous streaming footage, so we're just gonna kind of keep filming and see what happens. And there shouldn't be any interruptions, but you never know. So, and I'll do my best to keep recording in case such a thing happens. I just kind of want to get into it. I tend to ramble. This is kind of like the second video segment for today. I might download it, I might not. I wanted to talk more about my personal history. My most previous video that I hopefully just downloaded was talking about the great work, all right, the work that we're supposed to do and what that means in alignment, getting more in alignment with God, I guess is the best way to say it, all right. Um, and so I'm going to talk about a subject which is kind of the root of my homelessness, all right, where it's like, because it is money and it's not money. I'm gonna say is the situation about it. Because as someone who understands how reality works, based on a logical level, but also on a feeling based level, I feel like I have the ability and the sanctioning in many different ways to create wealth. All right. Um, and I have this. Okay, I'm just gonna say it. And when I am creating wealth, it is wealth not just for me, but for my community. All right. It is not something that I cannot create wealth just for my small self. All right. And within this concept of God that I'm talking about right now, there's me, an individual small self, and then there's a greater self, right? There's a greater God beyond the small self. Okay. Small self, small self, greater self, small self. All right. Um, and this greater self is other people, man. It's nature, it's reality, it's a bunch of different things, you could say. And so, like in this, like I like to do when I hear people's perspectives and stories, I frame them in a way where it's healing. All right. And for somebody who is coming, who's coming, but who has arrived from a place where a lot of, I would say, religion, especially, but society itself has said, as an individual, you're nothing. All right, you're at best you're a slave to God, and at worst, this God is outside of you, totally independent of you, is going to judge you. And in most cases, people saying that are just reflecting their own relationship with God. All right, which makes things way freaking messier too. So you get these individuals who are super separate from God, climbing, like, okay, not climbing, I should say, clawing their way up the social ladder to get to places of so-called leadership, and it's leadership inspired by fear. All right, which is totally different than real leadership. Um, and I lost my train of thought. There are people who do that, but they shape, that's what it is, they shape society. All right, and then that stuff ends up kind of bleeding down, and so people in a lot of different ways are the ones who enable that kind of person to become a leader. All right, and this is also why I say everything's an internal job. All right, everything's an inside job. You guys can't, we can't get away from that as humanity. All right, that's just what I'm going to say. And hopefully the wind isn't too windy in the thing. Like I had I don't know if you can see it, but just like I have the umbrella to protect from the wind, but now it's coming from a different angle, so we'll see. I've already been talking for what, 4 minutes almost. Um, so let's get into it, you guys. Like, and this is what's hard for me. The reason that I'm homeless is, okay, I'm just like the primary reason. Like, things have changed. I've done a lot of healing. I've done a lot of work. So things were, I'm in a different position than I originally was. But my original position was, how dare I enable and participate in a society, in a structure, in a monetary system which is evil? How dare I? You know? And I also believe that this is maybe why a lot of people, a lot of a lot of good-hearted people aren't wealthy, is that when they look at the system as it is, they're just like, oh man. And then it's in the Bible, love of money is the root of all evil. Okay, in many ways I agree with that statement, all right? Um, but that's because in that love of money, what we're talking about really is putting money before God. All right. Because when we put God before everything else, it just clicks, man. Money's there to be used. All right. It's it's just a different energy to participate in, if anything. All right. Um, but when most of the world seems to be, coming from a fearful, separated place from God, all right, this love for money is like evil, guys. Like it is, and I get it. I totally get it, and it has put me in unique positions too, because in so many different ways, being on the streets here, even with the limited amount of money that I've had, um, I live more abundantly than a lot of people around me, and I know that more money passes through everybody else's hands than me. I don't beg. All right. Um, I want to provide a service. All right. I do accept gifts. Like I have accepted monetary gifts from people, and definitely food gifts. All right. Definitely like a lot of food gifts, and hygiene stuff. Sometimes people hand out stuff like a toothbrush. I'm like, yeah, okay. Actually got like 20 toothbrushes now, in my storage locker because, man, people love to hand out those toothbrushes. I don't know what that's about, but if you feel like you're doing good, okay. But even more than handing out toothbrushes to people on the streets, you guys, do the work. As I said in my previous video, do the work on yourself. Okay, that's going to help the homeless population. All right, that's going to help the world. All right, get close with God, and then let God tell you what to do. All right, because given a toothbrush, maybe it is. There's only one absolute, and there it is. All right, right. If you watch my channel, you know. So yeah, guys, I've kind of walked away from the community here, and I was gonna say the homeless community. It it's intentional, I guess, but it's kind of like self preservation, I guess. Maybe if I get to a point where it's the wind, you guys. Maybe if I get to a point where I'm super strong within myself, I'll just exist in those kind of situations. But it's just for the most part, I'm a really caring individual, and I do want to like. I've been an enabler, all right, most of my life. I ain't gonna lie, and this is also why I left, society itself. I've been an enabler, all right, and I didn't want that to be me, all right. I feel like this was maybe somewhat of a generational curse too, where my family bloodline saw the truth, and rather than speak the truth, they just complained and worked for the tyrants. And the way that I'm defining it too, if you're not doing the work in any way, shape, or form, all right, and but you're you know having a job, working this, just trying to survive, you know guess what, you're working for the tyrants, you guys. And in this case, it might be an inner tyrant. All right, like this is why I always internalize everything. I'm not even necessarily, when I talk about change and everything, I'm not even, everything is so built upon itself. All right. And like I think I said it in my last video. I don't know if I said it in this one. It gets hard to keep track of that stuff. Narcissistic individuals can only exist through the existence of enablers. All right. And so the way that I've seen society at large, that yeah, there's some narcissistic individuals, but the vast majority of the population are enablers, and that blows my mind, you guys. Like I did, like, and I understand why. This is, it's not something where it's just like, ha ha ha, you're an enabler and I'm not. It's just like, no, I've been there, and I like to think I'm not an enabler anymore, and it's coming through in different ways too. Like in doubling back, this is also why I'm not really joining some of the homeless community here. Is I don't want to enable their thought patterns, the way that they operate. All right, in just my presence, I know I annoy them, and it's more than annoy. I think it's this combination of inspire and horrify, because I don't operate how they do, and they try to get me to think like them, and I'm like, no, this is how it works, and I'll show you, essentially. And I know it scares them. Like a lot of people set me up, I guess is the best way to say it. I'm just going to say it like that. And I'm still standing, you guys. And I'm doing really good, too. I'm not on drugs. I've walked away from all that stuff. Um, Being healthy, grounded every day, you know, um, God's taking care of me just as I'm choosing to align myself with God. And I'm still doing the work. I've done a lot of work. I keep getting signs where it's just like, hey, the new work for you, Keith, which is my name. I'm Keith. The new work for you, Keith, all right, is to show yourself, is to talk, is to let people see how much work you've done. And to me, I'm like, whoa, okay, yeah, that is work, because I get in that fearful kind of like position where I gotta have courage, because just staying hidden and under the radar is kind of what I'm used to, you guys. And so I'm following what God's telling me to do. So yeah. And so just I don't know if I have it here. I can kind of show you. This is my lightweight rod, but I love to twirl, you guys. Man, it's so much fun too, and I'm getting really good at it. I usually spend usually about an hour a day, but sometimes 3 hours a day if I'm just like in the zone. Um, I haven't done it yet today. Man, my arms, my shoulders getting sore. I've ripped skin, on one of my fingers. But it's worth it too. And I've dropped it a bunch, even on my feet a few times, or hit myself, twirling it. But it's worth it. Like, and this is part of what I want to be an example of too. I know I'm jumping around here. This is not the intent of my original thing about talking about this. Um, but me twirling this is living, all right. Like it's being a co-creator with God, because we are. This is really what I want to say. Like super super. Like this. Why is it so important to do the work, Keith? Why is it so important? I don't know if I want to get into this in this video. All right, I might like 12. Yeah, 12:28. If you've made it this far into it with me rambling and jumping around, maybe you want to hear this. Maybe you're ready for it. But I don't like to say this to just about anybody. Okay, and so take it with a grain of salt. You don't have to take it literally. But this is what I was shown. All right, some of my darkest times when I really wanted to, get off this world. I guess is the best way to say it. To leave the earthly experience. Okay, you know what I mean. It's happened more than a few times, you guys. But the last real time I was really considering it, it's like I was shown a vision. All right, I was like, God granted me the truth, and it's like the angels, or just, I was spoken to, and it was just like, all right, now you can leave it any other. It's multiple layered too, you guys. Like if I have done the work and I'm able to live in like a heaven type environment, God was asking me to just like, all right, yeah, you can come back and everything, and do that. How are you going to feel about yourself? All right, you can come back up here, and then what? Are you going to kick yourself for what you could have done, what you could have given? And I'm just like, oh, fuck you, God. Yeah, what the fuck? And sorry to swear, but not, sorry, not sorry. It's just like, damn it, you know me. Because I do. I want to give everything that I possibly can to help everybody, to help God, all right, to be of service. I don't just say that. I mean it, all right? And so I chose to stay. And also what I was shown too, where it was the more damaged parts of me, where it was just like, I don't want to be here anymore. Like even if I'm not even going returning to heaven, just like, I don't want to be here anymore. And that's what I mean, where I know what that feeling is, you guys. And what I was shown is it's beautiful and it's horrible, because what it means to be a soul is that you cannot die. All right, if you don't want to be here anymore, too bad. Too bad you have to be here. All right, maybe not physically here. You can go into deeper levels of unconsciousness. All right, that's a possibility. But in doing so, It doesn't eliminate you. All right. It means that more of the unhealthy patterns that are existing within your system are going to continue. And you'll have less consciousness, but you're still going to have a degree of consciousness. All right. And it's like a fractionization. All right. And this is to exist in this world, to have a small self. All right. And so we can either keep growing closer to God. So and when I say it's fractionization and it's a percentage, all right, it's just like, so it's never 100%, it's never 0%, all right. We can never get to those extremes, all right. I could be like, man, I'm 99% healed, all right, or 99%, aligned with God. That's great, all right. How about you go for 99.01%, all right? And when you start to use numbers, you start to see you can increase infinitely, infinitely, without ever getting to 100%. Infinitely, you can keep on, and it might be a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of a percent eventually, all right? But even then, you're still getting better, all right? But guess what? The same is true in the inverse. We can get lower and lower and lower percentages, and it never ends, all right? It can always get worse, just like it can always get better. And so this is what I mean when I was shown. It's just like, we don't end. All right. If someone is in that state where it's just like, I don't want to be here anymore, I don't want to exist anymore, stop it. And I just like some cold water on the face where it's just like, you better do what you got to do right now. And I'm saying this with 100% understanding. Okay. I know what it's like to be there, but you or me, right? Because it's the same, entertaining those thoughts is entertaining an illusion. All right. We cannot not be. All right. There's a version of it, but it's an illusion, and it only makes things worse. It might feel a little bit better at first, just a little bit, or a lot. Like this is why people get addicted to drugs sometimes, is that it's a way for them to override certain things and experience something temporarily. All right. And by override, well, think of it like this, where it's just like layers of consciousness, all right? All right, let's say I'm wearing a thick, heavy, I got to speak through metaphor, you guys. It's the only way to do this, all right? So let's say I'm wearing a really thick, heavy, itchy sweater, all right? It's super heavy, it's super itchy, and it's hot outside, and I'm uncomfortable, all right? All I got to do is take off the sweater, all right? To me, that's the work. We got to take off the sweater, all right? But not doing the work, going more unconscious, what it does is it takes away the awareness of wearing the sweater. So we're still wearing the sweater, and whether it's a drug or anything else, a thought pattern, but it's just like it's living in a denial. It's living in an illusion. It's just like, no, I'm still wearing the sweater, but no, I'm not. I'm not going to feel it anymore. Oh, I don't feel hot. And to a certain degree, we can trick ourselves into not feeling those things. But what ends up happening is we start shutting down. All right. And from my experience, at least, it makes the coat thicker. It makes it makes the sweater heavier, thicker, more itchy, because then it has to reach through a level of numbness to people. Okay, like at least that's been my experience. All right, and so if you want to, if you want to dare me on it, hey man, that's your life. I highly suggest you just, connect with God. All right. I highly suggest you do that. Not, whether it's through me, through other people. I feel like I'm coming in the name of God and the presence of God and the Spirit of God. And I'm doing my best to, convey this. All right. But it's like going down that unconscious path, that path of deeper unconsciousness, it's only going to make the coat, the sweater heavier. All right. And it is possible to take off that sweater. Like I really like, and I know I about the fractionization, how things can always get better. Yes, yes. What I have been shown is that it is possible to fully remove that sweater. Okay, but in my opinion, that's so far in the future. It's so far in the future. We don't even need to be there. All right, like I'll settle for a lighter sweater for sure, you guys. Um, And I think part of it is that just being here on Earth, like if you've done a lot of work, let's say you've cleared your personal work, all right, then part of it is taking on collective energies, and then as we're able to do the work in collective energies, it's actually helping the people around us too. All right. Now, don't get too much into that too. Like people can I think I did, to be honest, where I overwhelmed with doing collective work. I overwhelmed myself, and then I couldn't even function as an individual. All right, so I know it's really technical stuff, and if you know, you know. If you don't, you might know someday, or maybe not. Who knows, right? But that dog's barking. I think it's time to end this, you guys. Already at 20 minutes, and I intended to talk about money too. Isn't that funny? All right, maybe a different day. All right, but yeah, yeah, that truth bomb at the end, you guys. We don't end, okay? We don't. So that's why it's so important to do the work. All right, and it's it's to feel better now. All right, because feeling better now ends up being feeling better forever. Okay. But part of feeling better now also might mean acknowledging that we've been feeling bad. Okay. This is what I mean when I say it's just like the path of unconsciousness. It it seems counterintuitive at first, where it's just like, I don't want to feel this pain. Be like, hey buddy, you're already feeling that pain. You're just in denial of it. All right, this is what I'm saying here. And so this is the path of authenticity. All right, as I say on my channel all the time, it's being authentic means acknowledging where we're at. All right, and that can be a painful process. It doesn't have to be. All right, it can be so freeing to be like this is the forgiveness of God too, where it's just like knowing that we're the ones who have been wearing this sweater, this itchy, horrible sweater that we don't need to wear. All right, this suffocating sweater, and acknowledging that it's there might seem like big trouble at first, confirmation there. It might seem insurmountable even at first, but it is the way. And by acknowledging that it feels that bad, that we've been wearing the sweater after all, then then it's lessened. It, we can take off a layer of it, all right, because it's in the layers, all right. But we can only take it off when we're conscious of it, when we're aware of it, and that requires choosing a new pattern. Okay, and I'll get into that in a different video. I like the direction that this is going, but this has already been going on pretty long, and plus that's pretty heavy. If you guys stick with it, So thank you. You know, if it's too overwhelming, um, hey, it's just there. I would say come back to it when you're ready. Uh, because and definitely on this level too, just like keep coming back to my videos too, like, and I mean this is just as a person who understands, where it's just like it doesn't end, you guys. Like, this is why it's so important to give to oneself. That's why it's so important to give to each other. Why it's so important to be connected to God, so we know how to give. All right, so I'll leave it there. I'm leaving it there. All right, so yeah, as I like to say on my videos, I try to explain it most of the time. Sometimes I'll just say it, but in parting, I say, catch you on the flip side, right? Just as you'll catch me. And by the flip side, this is what I mean. It's like we've grown up with this sweater, all right? Like, this is what we were born into, is this sweater. And this sweater life, all right, this heavy, itchy, horrible sweater that we've all been wearing is upside down. All right, it's not supposed to be this way. All right, it's not supposed to be this way. All right, we got to flip that stuff. Take off those layers, man. Take off that sweater. And in doing so, that is the flip side. All right, so that's what I mean by that. So peace out, love within, right? And I'll catch you on the flip side as you catch me.